Hey everyone, John here with Fat Stacks. I'm super happy to have Taylor Kimball back on, and today we are going to discuss our favorite AI tools, specifically for text generation. We've decided to narrow it down because we've got a lot to say about that, and we want this video to focus on. So, Taylor, welcome back on, and why don't you kick us off and lead us into your thoughts about AI for text and article generation at this point?
Sure, yeah. I'm a big fan of them. I have a course on Internet Marketing Gold, so I've been using AI generating content for months now, I guess well over a year and a half, and I just find that it speeds up the process significantly. I know a lot of people are quite nervous about it, and rightly so. This isn't for me just like a create and publish. I do have a step-by-step method that I like, and I know the people who are the most successful using AI tools have their own internal SOPs. They have ways of working with the tools to get a quality output. But just with the growth of I think at this point, you can't ignore it anymore, and you need to take it into account and at least figure out whether it's the right tool for you. You don't want to jump in fully, but you also don't want to just say, hey, this isn't for me, I'm not going to use AI. When your competitors are speeding ahead with the rate of publishing, you got to at least check out what's going on there.
Totally. So just to clarify, you are actually indexing and publishing content from AI currently.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I totally agree with you. I was pretty slow to the whole like adopting AI, and bird's eye approach for me right now is I use it, and I'll get into specifically which ones I like the most. I use it, but I edit it still extensively. And so
Same.
maybe why don't you talk next about what's your favorite AI tool for text generation and what you do with it before you publish it, sort of the step-by-step process that you're doing with it right now.
Yeah. So my favorite tools have kind of changed over time, and really in the beginning, it was kind of limited to like the OpenAI Playground and Jasper, right, or Jarvis, or whichever one they ended up calling it. Now there's just so many on the market that you kind of find what fits your needs. So the main ones I'm using now, which we can dive into, are ChatGPT 4, Surfer, and their AI is launching soon. You've probably seen the promo around there. I had a chance to be their beta tester, and I was really impressed with the quality of their articles. And then Koala, which you turned me on to. So those are the three, and they all kind of like fit different needs that I have. I'm also experimenting with Surge Ignite, which I picked up from Julian Golding. He's got a couple of videos around it, which is worth checking out. But yeah, they all, for right now, there's not one that does everything that I need, right? So they cover different bases. We can dive into Koala a bit more, but really, I think what you want to look for in an AI tool is just finding out what do I need to accomplish and what's the fastest way to do it and which tool is going to be that. So I think you just need to dive in and figure out like which tool is the right one for you. What is the tool that's going to accomplish what you need? And they're cheap. I think what Koala starting is like $9. Surfer is pretty cheap as well. So, get it for a month, experiment with it, see if it works for what you need. And if it doesn't, try another tool on the market.
Totally. Okay, so Surfer is interesting. I mean, I think a lot of us have heard they're rolling out something pretty impressive. It sounded like I haven't used it. That's
Yeah.
cool. You got to use it. So why don't we kick off with Surfer? Because I'm really interested to hear what that's about. So why don't you tell us what it does, how it's maybe different than others out in the marketplace, what you specifically use it for, and any post AI generation work that it does that you do before you actually click publish. I think a lot of people like to hear, at least from me, because I don't just click and publish.
Mm-hmm.
I create with Koala and ChatGPT 4, and then I actually spend time before I published on my site. So why don't you go through that with Surfer?
Sure. Yeah. So that process is basically what I've been doing as well, right? You treat AI as a generative assistant. So it's like, here's the first draft, here's the outline, here's the idea, then you edit and you fix, and then you publish. With Surfer, Matt was an instrumental part of like building that out, right? And him and I had many conversations where he was like, what would you look for in an AI tool? It's like, oh, I want this, 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 this. And he was saying, yeah, I want these things too. And he went to Surfer and they ended up building this tool. So I would say the big advantage of it is it's the closest I've seen to actually like generate and publish. Now, I still edit, I still fine tune, I still adjust, but just the quality of the output has been so high for me that it is extremely impressive. And I think the use case for Surfer is less in bulk publishing, because there's plenty of tools like Koala now that you can do that and then optimize, but really for your focused money pages, you know. And the other one for me is Surfer goes to the SERPs, scrapes them in real time around the keywords you're looking for. So if you want to do something like Amazon roundups, then I think Koala is great. But then you're still going to potentially want to throw that in Surfer to see, you know, how well optimized is it, or if you're using Page Optimizer Pro, right? So Surfer fits the need of here's an article I want to write. It's super in depth. Maybe you're venturing into a new niche and you don't have a writer, or you can't afford a writer. Surfer will let you publish and create quality content really, really quickly. And it's generally one click, right? It's like, here's a keyword, here's the competitors. It generates the whole thing. It's 2,000 to 4,000 words, and it does need minimal publishing. I have had some issues here and there where if I get the keyword a little bit wrong, the output can be poor. But that's more on the user error, I think, in terms of figuring out how to work with the tool rather than the tool itself.
All right, well, that sounds really cool. So you'll use it for money pages as well.
Oh, only. Yeah. So
Okay.
like, in my opinion, at this point, like, it is a more expensive tool, 100%,
Okay.
right? Like, cost comparatively to something like Koala or ChatGPT or these other tools, I think those are good enough for getting your info content going and then just editing. I save Surfer for like my key money pages, especially if you're doing a lot of affiliate stuff that's not in Amazon, private sites, private affiliate deals, or just like less well-known products. And that in that case, that's where I go for Surfer.
Okay, so when you say it's more expensive, how much is it? Let's say a 3,000 word article. Maybe it's not priced per word. I have no idea how it's priced, but what are we talking about? I mean, I think a lot of
Yeah,
people know what Koala is priced at, which is ridiculously inexpensive.
for sure. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't think I can comment yet because I don't know if they've released what their public pricing is going to be. But from what I know, it's either going to be a per piece amount, or it'll be sort of like an additional to your Surfer subscription. So I won't say one way or another, because at this point, while we're recording this video, they haven't come out to say what their pricing model is going to be yet. But
Okay.
from what I've heard, it's definitely a significant price point up from where Koala would be. And that's why I say
Okay.
save Surfer for your key money pages, right? Or if you're testing a niche and you say, hey, I want to just do a few quality articles really fast, go ahead and use Surfer for that.
Safe to say it's cheaper than hiring writers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's one of the big advantages of AI, right? And I'm sure you've seen this as well. It's, even if the quality is a bit lower, the time from like conception of this is the article I want to write to publishing is so much faster. You just cut down on so much time of like back and forth with communication, like keyword research, writing, editing, publishing. These tools just help us speed that along so much quicker. And that's what I think one of the big advantages that they offer.
You know what's cool about it? Now I use Koala like crazy, and what's cool about it is obviously I'm saving an absolute ton of money. I still have writers, by the way.
Yeah,
There are specific uses. Like I think the takeaway from this video is going to be: listen, there are a lot of tools out there. Find what works for you, and it may be multiple tools. We both use multiple tools, and
for
it
sure.
depends what we talk about or what we're doing with them. And I use two specifically, and it sounds like you use three or four. But at the end of the day, and I still work with writers, but for me, what I find interesting is I'm actually manually using Koala, for instance, and it needs to be edited. I won't click and publish.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm actually involved, and so the articles turn out quite well. I tend to write decent articles for my niche site, and so if I spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes on it cleaning it up, turns out to be really, really good. And it's 20 or 30 minutes of my time. Now, that's impossible to scale, of course, but it's for certain articles that are important to me, and I want the input in there, and I want it my voice. Then it's been working really, really well for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I think on that note, like, I also still have my writers, right? I haven't. There's no one who I've let go or replaced fully with AI, but in many cases, what we've managed to do is move them over from doing, so let's say 2 articles, 3 articles a day, right, to sometimes being able to do like 10, depending on the depth of the article, because they are moving a lot more from the writer position to being more like co-writer and editor. So
Yeah.
they get their first draft done, the research is already done, they're looking at fact checking, they're looking at editing, and like yeah, I think with one of our sites, we were doing around 150 pieces a month before AI, and now we've just been able to scale that massively, right? And we haven't really grown the team. We've grown on the side of uploaders
Yeah.
because we just have more content. Yeah, we have more
Yeah,
content to upload, but in terms of
totally.
our size for the writers, like it's just spread the process up massively. So yeah, I think it's that's the strong use case for AI right now for me at least.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So, I mean, I know a lot of people are excited about trying the Surfer, especially if you want that higher quality, less editing effort. I know I'm
Yeah,
going to dive right in and check it out myself. So, maybe I'll answer some questions. I've used Koala essentially since it launched, more or
sure.
less. I've been impressed. It was 3.5 back then. Now it's 4. It has, well, first off, by the time this video is published, it will have the new feature called Scholarly, which is actually going to pull citations from Google Scholar, which is going
Nice.
to be really cool for some niches, right? Like, I don't know if it's going to be particularly helpful in my niche, which is more of a lifestyle niche, but anyone who's doing like health or
Yeah,
anything where there's particular studies involved that could be useful. I mean, that's massive. And
yeah,
so I'm pretty excited about that. And it has this relatively new feature called AI powered, which basically analyzes up to 100 topically relevant keywords that are surrounding the initial keyword, and it will include that in the article, further optimizing it for SEO. Now, I've used that. I still require a lot of editing. I tend to always err on writing for people versus search. And I'm not quite as analytical as you probably, or people like Matt. I probably dropped the ball there. I just tend to defer to, I got a style that I like to maintain, and that's what I do. Probably shooting myself in the foot a little bit, but that's how I do things. So, I'm not as keen about the whole AI power thing, but it is a pretty cool feature. I
mm,
know people in the FatStax forum have really appreciated it. There's been a lot of discussion there about it. I'm not an Amazon guy, but it does, like you say, do the Amazon roundups, which are helpful. I've monkeyed with it. You got to edit it. Like, this is not
for
like
sure.
those are like, you'd be crazy to publish that. Like, I think it's almost more like an idea generator than anything else. And
Yeah,
for that, it's kind of cool, but certainly not like, all right, here we go. I'm throwing it up on the site. You're just wasting your time. So,
yeah,
anyways, I mean, overall, it's with the bulk production now, like you can fire up like 15, 20 articles going all at one time. Like, it's amazing. And yeah, now the bottleneck is uploading to the site, right? Actually,
correct.
Koala integrates with the site, but you still gotta go through the draft and the images and all that. It's the images that are difficult and time consuming and so forth. Anyway,
Yeah,
so that's my use for it. Publish almost all info content. So it's interesting you talk about a dichotomy between, the money pages, which is a thing that you and a lot of affiliate marketers do. I'm pretty much all info for the most
yeah.
part. So it works really well for me. So, and I think, the second one I use extensively, even though I use Koala, is ChatGPT. And you've mentioned it too, ChatGPT 4. And so why don't you go and explain, how you're using that in your daily workflow and with your sites.
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, I just have the tab open all the time, right? Like I just
Yeah.
I just throw stuff. So in terms of like generating text, I'm mostly using like Surfer and now Koala, especially for like bulk stuff, right? It's just the best. And even I have foreign language sites that are affiliate and info, and I'm using Koala for that, and that's great. But ChatGPT just sits there on the side, and I just throw questions to it, right? Or like ideas, first drafts. So I treat it more like a research assistant at this point, or almost like a genuinely a VA, right? An actual virtual assistant to just be like, okay, give me a list of this, or here's a business idea. What's the unique selling proposition? What are these things? So yeah, I have it all the time. I think it's also really nice for testing mockups before you plug in things to like Surfer or Koala to see like what does their database have on this subject. So I'll throw things in where it's like, okay, if I want to do some info content on a very niche subject, I'll plug in a question and see what kind of response I'm getting from ChatGTP, right? Yeah, if you're new to AI and you're like, oh, how do I start? Like, just get GTP for it's what $20 a month, I think, and
Yeah,
play with it.
I know.
Like it can do, it literally can do almost everything from like formatting tables to, there's some interesting videos of people being like, okay, here's my age, here's my weight, here's my diet, design a weight loss plan for me. So I think that's the tool where you can get out of the framework of saying all I do is generate text for my website and really treating it like, okay, here's a well-trained business assistant that I can use for a lot of different functions. It's almost like whatever you can think of, start experimenting with it. So yeah.
100%. I use it a lot too. I'm using it for really specific things in terms of it's part of my content generation. So Pinterest descriptions, it's so golden for that because I I get so sick of writing them, right? So I could put in like, three aspects of the image and just say write a 2 or 3 sentence Pinterest description about this, and bang, it actually creates this, nicely readable description that works great. Copy, paste, done. So for me, that's huge. You just get sick of writing those things over and over and over. And same thing with titles. Now, I think sometimes if my prompt for good blog post titles, especially if I'm trying to do well on search, would be like, write 5 viral titles on an article about XYZ. So I've used that quite a bit. They can be over the top. They can
Yeah.
be, so I might dial it back a little bit. It gets, and it has a certain formula how it does the titles, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So then I might adjust the wording from viral to engaging, or even lesser, or good blog uh, article topics that will that will engage readers or something like that, right? And then just try different prompts to see what's going to work for me. So I mean, for that, it's huge because I'm not really a marketer, right? I don't really. I have a knack of coming up with really boring titles, and
Mm-hmm.
so this is like helped me jazz them up big time. Lastly, it's just an idea thing. So I work it in sync with Koala. Like I'll like be like, give me the list out 10 things about a particular article, the most important aspects of a particular article, in bullet point form, and then it'll
Yeah.
do that. And then I plug that stuff into Koala, right? To actually create the long article. And I should mention about Koala, often I will like run multiple prompts to create one article. I like being very specific. I want it to focus on a very specific query or keyword. And so when I'm working it in sync with ChatGPT, I'm kind of like cobbling together this article from like multiple inputs over and over and over. And then I edit it. So it is a time consuming process, but it results in a really good output at the end of the day. So, but that's my process, and those are the
Yeah.
tools that are just indispensable for me.
Yeah. And I think you said it exactly right. Like it's not just like one thing and then you're done. And the same for me when I'm playing with ChatGPT. I use it a lot as well for copy, right? Like I'll have an idea for a copy, whether it's like a post or an email or whatever I'm working on. My background is in editing. It's not in writing. So I can write the baseline and then I'll throw it into chat and I'll say like, hey, you know, you're an expert copywriter who's trained in marketing and this, adjust this text to follow the best principles of ad copy. And then it fixes it. And again, sometimes you said it's over the top, but just the output can be so nice as like, okay, it went from a 3 to an 8, and now I just need to fine tune it a little bit to take it to the 10 that I'm looking for. And that's the same with like emails. If you're uncomfortable with emails, one of my staff is she hates writing emails. She's not confident, and English isn't her first language.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
she can throw her email into ChatGPT and say like, reword this for a professional tone as an email, and it will output it, and it's good enough. Many times it's actually great. So yeah, I think there's a lot of use cases there. It's just a matter of figuring out what you need, right, and where it can assist you. So yeah, I love it.
100%.
If you haven't played with it, I think you should. I mean, you have, but the general you of watching the
Right.
video.
Viewers, absolutely. And I think, like Koala has, and I think this is safe to say with pretty much all the tools, it works better for some things than others. I
For sure.
found, and so I tend to try to veer toward that. It also takes a lot of playing around to try to make it
Mm.
work for what you're trying to do. It takes a little bit. Don't be afraid to burn up credits or whatever. I mean, let's put this into the cost it used to be to hire writers
Yeah.
exclusively for all this content. I mean, we're talking peanuts. I'll top up. anytime. I mean, because we're still talking peanuts in terms of what you actually get out of it. And, so I experiment a lot. I burn up a lot of word count because I want to try to figure it out. Let's say I'm trying a different type of article. I want to pin that down properly. And once I do, then I've got a system in place for that. And I got a whole sheet of prompts, and, I'm trying to keep as organized as I can with this stuff and be like, oh, okay, because sometimes the precise wording for a prompt is pretty important. Or
Oh yeah, for sure.
like I read them from other people, share them on Twitter and on videos and whatever. I'm like, oh, that's super smart. I love that. I note it down, and there you go. I've got literally like keys to the gold mine for another type of article. So
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, that a lot of people who maybe like try to play with AI for a little bit and then they get frustrated, is there is a learning curve, right? It's not just like write me an article on this, especially on more open-ended playgrounds like ChatGPT. Koala is a bit better because I think it's a bit more like it has a box around it, so it's not as open-ended to just create all the prompts in the world. You're not going to ask it for like write this email copy. Versus chat is great, but there is a learning curve, and you should take the time to figure out how to use this tool. And even internally, like every time we go after a new article type, we'll spend a few days just playing with different prompts and seeing how do we get the same output again and again and again, so we can just adjust the topic of the article, but the prompt stays the same, right? And then when you find that thing, that's how you can start to scale really quickly in terms of content production with AI. And I think that's where the power of it lies.
Yep, 100%. Although I will say, for product reviews, not that I do much of them, I don't think I'd use it much. I still think there are some things I think that just for me needs to be written from scratch. And if I'm involved, I just crank it out from scratch. And, I like to think reviews are going to be a high earning piece of content. I don't do a whole lot of them, but if I do, it's going to be me throughout. And I don't know, but that's just my thoughts on that. I know, a lot of people are using it for reviews, but
Yeah, I use it. I like it. That's where for me, like I like Koala for the Amazon roundups. I think it's really great. That being said, as you mentioned, like there is some issues in terms of the products that it chooses. So my workflow is like to find the products that I want on Amazon, and then I'll put the SKU into Koala, and then it will go and it'll write. If you just let it choose, it doesn't choose the best products, right? It seems to choose products where your keyword is in the product name, and that's not always
yeah,
what I'm looking for. So that's a bit of a headache. But once you find the workflow for it, you just pick the products and throw it in, and it's better. But for Surfer, that's the one where I'll do a lot more like single product reviews, roundup reviews, just like, okay, this is the product I'm reviewing, and it does a great job. Now,
really.
I have had some issues, like occasionally it'll pull like someone's comments, right, from Amazon about the product. In which case you still need to go through and edit it, like nothing's perfect where it's just like one and done. But just the quality is genuinely really impressive. And Surfer will write like in a first person, so it does have a tone of voice that fits, at least with what I'm going for. So yeah, I imagine that like when AI came out, I think I told my writers like, oh, don't worry, you're not going to get replaced that quickly. And now if you're a content writer and like you're doing just okay work, you should genuinely be worried. It will come where like, I mean, in the USA, all the writers are on strike because, well, there's many reasons, but one of them is they don't want to be replaced by AI, right? So it's like, the future is now. It's happening.
I know. I was slow to it. I just sort of was waiting in the wings. I still won't just click and publish. I know I take it slow. I got a lot to lose, so I might as well just be prudent, and that's my MO for now. I'm sticking with it. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm actually loving watching some of these folks build out these like monster sites basically on autopilot. Like
Yep.
that's kind of the dream, and it's cool. And if it works, I'm thinking that's fantastic. I'm not going to do that, at least with my main sites, but I got no problem maybe trying it for fun.
Yeah, and I think that's a fun, like you said, a fun aspect of it is like if you have a main money site, tread lightly. Like you don't want to suddenly be like, okay, all my content's going to be AI, but and you don't have to take a like a all or nothing approach. You can
Right.
say, okay, recently I had a consult with someone and they had a bunch of articles that they needed to update, and they're just a little bit out of date. And it's like, yeah, if you just add 500 words to that and you update it, your article can have a nice refresh. But do you really want to go through like a ton of articles and write 500 words on all of them? That's where AI can come in. It's already a 2,000 word post.
Mm-hmm.
Go through, ask the AI to sort of spruce it up, add some new content. That kind of stuff can really speed along the process. But, as you mentioned, like, we're experimenting much quicker in terms of like niches, topics, foreign languages, because AI lets you try it out. If you have an
Yeah.
idea of like, oh, I think I want to try a site like this, or I want to experiment with a mass page site or foreign language site, or, I want to go into affiliate, the AI stuff can just let you much quicker try it and see the results you're getting. And if you like it, so I think this is the valuable side of it. And if you found it takes off, you can always have people go back and either A, rewrite the articles, or B, just improve upon what you've already got. So yeah, I think it just frees us up as entrepreneurs to try a lot more things really quick. And I love this idea of like failing fast, so like I want to fail at a lot of things really, really quickly until I find the thing that sticks. And for me, AI is letting digital marketers do that in a way that wasn't possible before. The time investment to say, oh, I'm going to start a brand new site in a niche I know nothing about, it was a lot. Finding writers, doing the keyword research. Now you can just be like, okay, boom, let the AI throw up 100 articles, see how it performs, and then you can go from there, whether it's worth pursuing or not.
100%. Yeah, that's great. It's been fun.
Yeah,
It's fun, this whole AI thing. Changing world. Anyways, any final thoughts?
I mean, like, I think we're still at like the tip of the iceberg in terms of like AI use cases, AI tools. So, like, this isn't going away. I know people before were like, oh, what is Google's stance on it? And I'm sure it'll change over time, but I think it was back in February when they came out and said like, yeah, we're good, right? Like, we can't ignore what's happening now. So if you haven't started with AI, at least give it a chance, right? At least find a way to start playing with it. Even if you're not going to publish it on your site, see how you can work it into your current workflow, because it's essentially having like more team members, if especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, or you run a site by yourself, right? Get
Totally.
ChatGPT 4, start playing with it, see how you can integrate it, and check out all the plugins, like this video is just on generative AI, but there's email assistants, there's image, there's so many things, meeting recordings. Yeah, I think the field is just going to continue to explode, and we'll see much more integration among different software and different tools. And I mean, I'm looking forward to it, right? The more automation, the less I have to do of like boring tasks, the happier I am.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, hey, again, thanks very much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Surfer does as soon as it gets released to the public. So thanks for talking about that and your inside scoop. Appreciate having you on, Taylor.
Absolutely, John. It's been great. See you soon.